So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Page. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Success here in the College of Science. We're so excited that you've taken a little bit of your lunch hour to join us to be able to put some thought into your future career, maybe landing internship or an interview at a company as you're maybe preparing for spring graduation or graduation in a few years. So the title of today's event is going to be How to Get the Job You Want, Ready, Aim, and Hired. And so with us on the call today, we have several individuals who are active, who are alumni, donors, and currently employed in several industrial fields, along with specialists from right here on campus who you can have access to. So I'm going to go around and give each of them the opportunity to be able to introduce themselves. I'll start with our representative from the Career Center. Ed, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Yes, thank you, Michael. Definitely an honor to be here with fellow alumni of Cal Poly. I am Ed Venegas, or Eddie, and I am the Career Counselor and Liaison to the College of Science. And I do work with the Pre-Medical Student Association currently and the Computer Science Society and She Codes. And just happy to be here to take part. Thank you, Nidri, for your work and helping us get this going.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Eddie. And now our next two panelists who I'd like to introduce themselves are coming to us from Prolacta Bio. So Jamie, followed by Teresa. Jamie, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie. I'm from Prolacta Bioscience, and I work in the HR department. I've been currently employed there for about 3 years, so I was just in your guys' spot not too long ago. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to you all and provide some insight on how to get the job you want.
And next, going to Teresa.
Hi, guys. Teresa Shedkin. I'm the Director of Organizational Development. And so I've been with Prolacta only 4 months now. So I just moved into a biotech company from actually high tech, was kind of my last big role. So I made a big job shift and here today to help you guys understand the interviewing process a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with you.
Awesome. Now I'm going to allow a few of our colleagues to introduce themselves who are part of our Dean Circles. So these are alumni, donors, and advisors who contribute and give some feedback to both our development officer and to Dean Baskey here in the College of Science. So Jeffrey, I'll go to you first.
Hi, I'm Jeff Epping. I graduated from Cal Poly in 1979. It's been a while, but in the earth sciences and geology department. I went on to USC and graduate school, got a master's degree in geophysics. And I've been working in the energy industry for my career. I started and run an energy consulting firm, Energous LLC. We're highly involved in energy transition topics, and it's a very interesting field, as you can imagine. So I can give you some tips. We're actually hiring, but unfortunately, I'm located on the East Coast as opposed to the West Coast. But if somebody's interested, send me a resume. And I look forward to the discussion.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Next, we're going to go to Renee.
Hi, my name is Renee Jordan. I have an undergrad physics degree from Cal Poly. I work for KLA. We're a semiconductor manufacturer of tools and of defect tools and metrology tools that go into semiconductor fabs. I've pretty much been in semiconductors ever since I graduated from Cal Poly. I started off as an applications engineer, moved over into product marketing, and now I run about $1 billion business over in the corporate IT group within KLA. So I'm up in Northern California in the Bay Area, but started down in Cal Poly and with the physics degree. Excellent. And I do a lot of hiring. So I'm on the Dean Circle. And this is a great opportunity. We didn't have it when I was there at Cal Poly. So I'm hoping everybody takes advantage of this seminar.
Thanks so much, Renee. And sorry I cut you off right when you were saying that you are hiring. My goodness, that's the exciting part there. So thanks for sharing. And then lastly, we'll go to Nidra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nidra Heckman. I graduated from Cal Poly with a degree in chemistry in 1988. And I currently work for a company called Takeda. And it's a company that makes medical products for patients with rare disease or patients oncology. And so it's a great place for scientists and engineers. I focus on medical devices. I work in regulatory affairs. When I started my career, and for years afterwards, I worked in the lab as a chemist. And then I segued into quality and into regulatory affairs. Most of my career has been working on medical products of various types. And Takeda is also hiring, so feel free to reach out. But also, if you want your resume reviewed by members of the Dean's Circle, please make sure that you send those to Ed. And lastly, at the end of this academic year, right now I'm the chairperson of the Dean's Circle, but at the end of this year, it'll switch over to my successor. Nice to have you here today.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I'm going to be stopping the PowerPoint in just a second. So just a reminder to all the students, if you are able and willing, we'd love for you to turn on your cameras, and that will make this a lot more interactive here in just a few moments. We're going to spend about 10 minutes in each of these different areas. The first topic being creating an attractive resume or cover letter. The second topic that we'll then go into is going to be finding opportunities in science. And the third is going to be interviewing strategies that demonstrate professionalism. So with that, I'm going to maybe put those into the chat as we're going to be going into our various different areas. But just to get you all involved just a little bit here, could you please go to the chat, get yourself ready. We'll get the nerves out now so we can start to get some interaction. Could you please type in the chat, what is your major and when will you be graduating? So if it were me, I would put chemistry, graduating in spring of 22. So go ahead, start putting your major and when do you plan on graduating? My goodness, we have one in there. Computer science is coming in with a few of them. Biochemistry, environmental biology, another computer science. A lot of students here. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. What's your major and when will you graduate? Another computer science, environmental biology, biotech, physics. Oh gosh, you're going fast now. Another computer science. So thanks so much. So remember, as we're going along, this is where you can be able to keep giving us some more kinesiology, biochemistry. You can give us some questions that you're going to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Ed Venegas from our Career Center to maybe open us up for a few minutes. We're going to move into our first topic of creating an attractive resume / cover letter. So as Ed is talking to you, start thinking about what are some of the questions that you want to start posing, and I'll keep an eye on the chat and I'll ask that once Ed concludes, and we'll go to our panelists to be able to answer some of those things. So with that, Ed, go ahead and take it away.
Yes. So I'll cover, one important thing, and I know our panelists are esteemed alumni. They're awesome. But I think the one thing we need to keep in mind about the resume is that it's not going to be a list of responsibilities that you've had, whether it's being club president or in the internship or any volunteering. It's not going to be a responsibility thing. What you want to focus your resume on is what skill do you have, or how did you gain that skill, right? So the skill you've attained at that experience, and what did you accomplish with that? So what skill do you have and what did you accomplish? And it's really important that you read the job postings. So the employers create these job postings not just to have it there, right? But they put down what they want. And if you look closely, they're gonna have the action verbs right on there. They're gonna, if they want somebody that creates, databases, or somebody who developed AI, then make sure you're using the same action verbs they're using, and then demonstrate or show what you accomplished using that skill. That's going to be an important thing to remember.
Thanks so much, Ed, for being able to share that. If you have some questions that you'd like to ask, this is a great time to start adding them into the chat. I'd like to open it up to any of our panelists now at this point. If you'd like to add any additional points as we're starting to accept some things. But I see, my goodness, this is amazing. Lillian has her hand up. Lillian, if you want to go ahead, take yourself off mute, you can jump in there and ask the first question. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Lillian. I'm doing biochemistry, and I've talked to both of my parents because they've both obviously gone into the like engineering and chemistry about my resume. And my dad had recommended that a lot of the stuff is going through bots that are looking for specific terms. And so like I've applied to a lot of internships and whatnot, and I haven't heard much back. And I think it might be due to like maybe like an automated system that's looking for specific terms. Is it worth me putting like a paragraph into my resume that's kind of listing out different classes and things that I've done, like you say, like skills and stuff like that? Or would it be better to kind of just do like a bullet point skills kind of thing?
Lillian, that is an awesome question. So that is the main reason why when I work with a student, when we're in a session, and when I do my presentations, that's what I talk about. Read the posting, and you definitely want to use the action verbs they're using, the exact words. And if you've done the other parts that they've said, so let's just say it's, designed a database using Java, then you should be putting designed in Java somewhere in that bullet point. So the reason I caught onto this was I went to go visit the ABC Studios, Disney, over in Burbank. So the Career Center got to go, we got to visit, and it was their marketing team. There was 5 people on that team. And I remember Grace, who was the director at the time, she said, oh, for the marketing position, we get 39,000 applications. And I was like, I looked at everybody like, what? And she's like, no, we don't go through all of them. She goes, we have a software system. She goes, we just type in all the keywords that we want into the system, and then it runs through. And she goes, the ones that have the most, words and things we want, we keep. And the ones that don't, we put it in a different file. And she put it to the trash can. So yes, it's true. And the other thing too is you want your resume to be scannable, which means that all your information should be focused to the left side of the page. So no columns, because anything that's 5 spaces blank horizontally, the computer goes to the next line. So if you had something over to the left that maybe you want them to see like dates and stuff, it won't catch it. The other thing is if you have lines in your resume, if you have like a line to separate your sections, what I've been told is the line tells the computer to stop. So if you have your name with a line under it all the way across, it's going to stop and read nothing. And I had an engineering student with a really good resume, and he had lots of good stuff. And he goes, I haven't been getting callbacks. And so I said, hey, just try this, because he had a box around his whole resume. It was a big old line around his resume. I said, maybe take that out. I think that's what's stopping it. And a week later, he calls me up, hey, we got to work on some interviewing. I'm getting phone calls now. So I'll tell you that. And feel free, I did put my email in the chat. You can definitely meet with me. We can look over your resume.
Awesome. I'm going to open it up to any of our other panelists who feel they want to contribute to this question.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things. Is that most of the jobs in this country are created by small businesses, and I run one of them. We don't have robots. We have human people that look at these things. And I would encourage students to not only look at large businesses, but also look at small businesses. I think there's degrees of freedom in a small business that aren't present in a large business. But in terms of looking at resumes, I often look for action words and accomplishments. Those are 2 things that resonated to me when Eddie was speaking. So I think you have to present yourself as a person who has accomplished something. It's not that you're presenting your needs, you're presenting what you can contribute to the organization.
Thanks for that, Jeff. I'm gonna go to Teresa next.
Thanks, Dr. Page. Lillian, good luck on your search for sure. And, to echo what Jeff says, not the systems are the systems, right? And those bots are going to go through. But there also are recruiters who actually read your email or read your resumes too. And so it's really important to know that they don't spend a lot of time on your resume. So they're trying to get through, we've got stacks of resumes like this that we have to get through. So the important stuff at the top, to answer your question, do you need a bulleted list at the top? Put your accomplishments at the top. Put those things that you want people to get in the first 3 seconds that they look at your resume, because that's about as much time as we give a resume that doesn't pop. 3 seconds onto the next one. And I think there's 3 files. Eddie says there's 2. I think there's probably 3. There's the yes, no, and I'll get to it later. And the get to it later is you never get to. So you don't want to be in those other 2 files. You want to be in that first one. Let's respond quickly. So first 3 seconds, ask people to look at your resumes and say, give it a 3-second glance. And that's it. And tell me what you see, because that feedback is going to help you fine tune it.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa.
I just want to add one thing. Your resume is going to be the first impression your employer is going to get of you. And so you want to make sure that it's easy to read and it does catch your eye, just like Teresa said. Another thing that you can do to kind of boost your resume is putting your core competencies down. And that could be in lieu of like not having the proper job experience that you guys have, since you guys are all from college. When I was graduating college, all of my work experience was from Applebee's, Jersey Mike's, or even my part-time job at the lake. And when I was going out of college, I didn't feel that that was good enough. And so instead, what I did was put in a section of my core competencies of the courses that I went through throughout my degree.
Jimmy, could you give us an example? I'm not looking for a job, and so, but if I were going to work on that particular section, what would be some things that you see that come from students that would be some key things they might want to consider putting in core competency areas?
Yeah, of course. So you guys are all taking courses and you guys are all registering them. And when you do, you guys see that course summary there, correct? That's something that you're going to want to use as a reference when you're creating your core competencies. All of the courses that you're taking are applicable to the job that you are seeking. And you can use that in your resume when you're building that to prove that you are a qualified candidate for the role.
Awesome. So another way I also think about that you just brought to my mind as I think about what makes my major or our program distinctive. And so I'm a chemist, and I always think we offer a year-long sequence of upper division analytical chemistry that no other CSU offers. And so that would be definitely something you want to list that is able to separate you from the rest of the pack. Jeff, final comment, and we'll maybe.
Oh, well, I just wanted to key in on something that Jamie said. I think. I don't think there's an expectation. I certainly don't have one when I solicit resumes from recent graduates, undergraduates, or even grad school, whether or not they've had experience, professional experience. It's always good, but I think people who have worked in the world, if it's retail, what have you, worked in a job, I think that's an added skill. There's a lot of soft skills that come forward. And in my view, in my hiring experience, and I've hired a lot of people, I will much rather hire somebody who has had a job before. They understand what the workaday world needs, as opposed to somebody who has not.
Most definitely. Your job experience is important, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't completely align with the job that you are currently seeking.
Renee, I saw your hand. I'll go to you to be able to close out this section.
Sure. So definitely, I'm on both sides. So in your resume, yep, I get a ton of them. So the recruiter uses the word box. So Eddie is right on. Then we go, I look at it, then I do my assessment of it. So Jeffrey's right on. From a science background, most of the jobs you're applying for, you really need to show that you can investigate, right? You can bring that up in your labs. You can bring it up in your classes. You need to show that, hey, you can solve a problem. You can see something, you can solve it, either a solution, no matter what you do in science, you're going to be constantly doing that. You're going to be fixing or solving a problem. And then analytics, that is a key piece, Michael. And the whole world is about analytics now. If you can show that you can jump in and out of analytics, that means you can take data, you've got some background in using, PowerPoint or, Excel or whatever, that will definitely, you're going to be using that at some point in your life. So those are skills that you could definitely use at Cal Poly, and you should put them in there. And then in your job, right? If you're working as a manager or something and you have to solve a problem or manage people or manage things, put that in there. That's really good information. So it all combines together. We're looking at the whole.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Lillian. I see your question in the chat. I'll build that into our next section because I think that is something that will also go with our next topic that we're going to go into. So I'm going to place it in the chat. So we're going to move for a second to topic number 2 and start talking about how to find opportunities that are in science. And Lillian, I think this is something that we can build into this section because as you're looking, you're one unique person and there's so many different opportunities. And so, how do we change a resume based on different things that we have interest, or do we really tailor our resume toward a specific opportunity? But for a second, Jeff, I'm going to go to you. Can you open up this topic with just a few opening comments on how do we find some opportunities as students who are approaching graduation?
Network a lot. And how do you do that? Well, first I want to key on some things that Renee said, because I think everybody on the session, it was geared toward finding jobs in industry as opposed to going on in academics, which is fine. I've spent my career on the industrial side, and I highly recommend it. But so I think you're attuned to that. So present yourself as wanting to be as being flexible and adjustable and using these analytical and investigative skills. Where to find the opportunities? I think there's networking is key. You've got to get yourself in front of people. I think professional societies is a good way. I'm sure in the LA Basin, there are many professional societies associated with the majors that you've chosen. There are journals that are published by these professional societies, so you can find out about those, I think, with some research. I think the schools have resources. I'm sure at Cal Poly and probably within the Cal State system. I would leverage those. There are job fairs. Those I think can be hit or miss. But word of mouth. I think putting the word out on the street, friends. I will look more favorably on a candidate if somebody personally recommended or brought them to my attention, as opposed if they come in through a more formal process. So I'll just kick it off there and look forward to a discussion.
Awesome. Maybe Nidra, can I maybe go to you and maybe you speak on how do students find your company or find other opportunities as they're approaching graduation?
Sure. Okay. So networking is key because it helps to overcome the box, for example, and you get pointers on how to frame your resume or approach to given companies, because sometimes it depends on size or industry, how you would fine tune your resume and also your approach. So I would say get comfortable, even reaching out to people you don't know. I mean, there's only one time you don't know someone, and after you've reached out to them that first time, then you know them. So if that means if you want an academic career and you are looking through the different research that people are doing at that university, and you find people, there's their phone number, you give them a call, you leave them a message, you write them an email if you don't reach them the first time, and you keep trying to connect with them. Usually they're going to be, give you the time, because that's kind of how people generally are. Likewise, if you associate with a professional association, for example, I remember the American Society for Quality was trying to establish a presence on Cal Poly, like a student member of American Society for Quality. But anyways, every single year, usually I think it's October or November, there's an ASQ conference that's held in Kellogg West. And that society is everything about quality, no matter what walk of life you find yourself in. And people who are interested, especially in students, who are interested in quality of any particular field, whether it's hospitality, science, engineering, etc. So that's a great place to start networking that's right there on campus, for example. But once you meet one person, they introduce you to others, and this is how you can start to establish your network. But definitely, even if you're shy and introverted, just sort of, still reach out anyway to make those connections.
An interesting thing that happened with me, and as we're coming back to campus here next week to be back with primarily with in-person instruction, is our student clubs are going to start to meet again. And so oftentimes those student clubs invite in speakers from an outside company, and in addition to going and getting a little bit of refreshments and maybe a little pizza, you have opportunities to be able to meet individuals. And then also, Nidra, as you were saying, I went to one of my first conferences and I was presenting on a blood thinner, and a pharmaceutical company, their whole team came to listen to me. It was a little bit intimidating. I was a little bit scared, but I had 7 people who were interested in my work and were asking me, would you like to interview? Have you ever thought about moving to the East Coast? And so it was a good time. And once your confidence, once you start getting 1 or 2 people to talk to, your confidence really builds. And I like to look at it more as a conversation when I'm doing my networking. So I learned something from them, and they hopefully learned something from me. Teresa, you have your hand up. You want to take it away?
I do. I love what Nidra was saying, and Jeff as well. And if that phrase networking, and I think Michael, you touched on this, the phrase networking makes you a little nervous. It seems like it's such a big task. Really what you're doing is you're just talking to people, and just be curious and not necessarily make it about you and your job search, but just tell me what you do. And that curiosity usually sparks more conversation. And then you get to decide if you want to put yourself out there and say, I'm really interested in your company. Can you tell me more about that? And where could I possibly look for a job? I think that curiosity in those conversations is very, very important, because you make it about the relationship you're building versus you looking for a job, which just seems so daunting at times, right? So that would be my suggestion there, as well as, I just lost my mind, as well as working all of those connections. So and I know sometimes it's hard, if you have an uncle who says, hey, I know somebody, let your uncle introduce you to that person for a 5-minute conversation. And you never know where that's going to take you. So all avenues are open and available to you during your job search. You are in a really unique world right now. This is a job hunter's market. And so sometimes it flips and it's an employer's market. People want to talk to you guys. I mean, employers are interested. So, know that you are wanted, and people are willing to listen to what you have to say.
Jamie, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah, and it actually goes parallel with Eddie's comment. He asked, what do you think about LinkedIn as a way to network? And that is what exactly I wanted to say. Don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn. You have so many connections at the power of your fingertips. And I know you guys are already on your phone. So just go and create a LinkedIn account. And I know it's not the platform that we are used to. It's not the platform that we gravitate towards. But it is powerful, and it gives you an opportunity to research the companies that you are interested in. And it gives you the opportunity to see if you'll be a good culture fit and if you like their mission, because that's important too. You want to make sure that the company that you're working for is something that aligns with your personal goals as well. So don't be afraid of reaching out to people, and it's really easy through LinkedIn.
I'd second that.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much
Great.
for bringing in that technology piece with LinkedIn to be able to have our conversations. Are there any students who are brave enough who want to ask a question directly at this point as we're starting to wrap up this section? Any questions?
Dr. Page, can I address what Benjamin posted in the chat real quick?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even see that one go in there. Please, you want to read it first and then?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
So Benjamin posted that he half expects to be ghosted when reaching out to people on LinkedIn or email. And Benjamin, it could happen. And I'll tell you a little trick that will help you not be ghosted as much is tell the person why you're reaching out to them and let them know I am looking for help. And any help you can give me is appreciated. So be really clear. Just don't send out an invite, but be really prescriptive. It's like, this is what hi, I saw you on a panel. I was interested in what you were talking about. Can I ask you some more questions? People are willing to help. I mean, that's what we're geared toward. We're wired to help others. And so just making sure people understand why you're reaching out to them will be helpful to them.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for putting that into the chat there, Benjamin. So thanks for being brave and putting that out there. So we're going to go into topic number 3. Topic number 3 is interviewing strategies that demonstrate professionalism. So Teresa, I'm going to turn to you to give us maybe an opening primer for this particular topic, if you could take it away.
Yeah. Interviews are scary for everybody, regardless if you've been only on one interview or if you've been on hundreds of interviews. So know that everyone walks in the door being nervous, but also know that the interviewer is also nervous. So you've got these two nervous people coming in going, oh my gosh, how do I get to know this person? What do I say? So from your perspective, being prepared to have those conversations, practicing some questions that you would want to ask of the interviewer is important. Know that you're in dialogue and having a conversation. So you can ask questions too. It's just not someone throwing questions at you. So prep is your best, preparation is your best way to get to the next round and engage in dialogue. It'll make a huge difference for you guys, I promise.
Ed, can I go to you to be able to follow up on the things that Teresa has brought up, and that sometimes I find it difficult when I was just starting to come up with questions to think about. What kind of services are available through the Career Center to help students as they're navigating to this particular stage of the process?
Yeah, so thank you, Michael. And this is definitely one of the one places where Teresa's right. Like I even help students with interviewing, and I get nervous when I do an interview. So yeah, that's really true, Teresa. So we do mock interviews at the Career Center. So you can go on CPP Connect, choose the career services, and you can schedule a time to do like a 15-minute mock interview session. And it really helps when you put in the types of jobs or occupations you want to try to pursue, so that we can come up with questions that will be related to those places. And on top of that, we offer lots of workshops. So there is going to be a workshop that my wonderful colleague, Dr. Cheryl Love and Dr. Rona Harrison do. It's called Succeeding at Interviewing and Managing Anxiety. And that's going to take place on March 10th. So I think that's a Thursday. It's March 10th on a Thursday. And I'll post it in the chat, the link's there. So there's a whole Career Center workshop series that covers all these topics: resumes, interviewing, internships, you name it, we have it. And then also, I was just gonna prepare, I'm gonna post in the chat the link to the big interview software. So the Career Center pays for this software for students to have. And what you can do is you can practice interviewing. And what you do is you connect your camera and your microphone, and there'll be somebody on the other side, like a character, and they'll talk to you and say, tell me about yourself. And then you can record yourself and say it. And yeah, and so it's just a good way to practice on your time, maybe before the mock interview and after. And then, the third thing here is a student put in the formal clothing. So we do have a stipend program. I'll put information in the chat that you all can have for that as well.
So the question in the chat is, does formal clothing impress the interviewer? Any of you want to give a response to that? Renee, I see your...
if you come and you're like, you need to show that you want the job. So you don't have to have a 3-piece suit on, but if you have something that's clean and pressed and that I just need to know that you're taking this seriously and that this is what you want. Also, just to add, when you go in, do your homework. Go Google the company, find out what they do, find out a little bit more about what you're being hired for. Come in with really good questions to ask back to them. I'm impressed when I get that kind of response from a candidate.
Jamie, I see your hand is up, and I know I'm going to steal any of your thunder. I was wondering if you're going to give us one of your more difficult questions that are maybe in the interview, but if not, that's okay. We can save that for later, but take it away.
I was not going to give out a question that I present in interviews, but I was going to give a tip on how to reduce anxiety and reduce your nerves. Oh. So first off, the nerves come from predetermined expectations. And who are those expectations coming from? Yourself. And so when you go into an interview, you want to come in with the idea of you are having a discussion with them to display your skills and talk about your knowledge. You don't want to come in with the idea of, I need to impress them, because that's going to set a higher expectation on yourself. And it's going to cause these thoughts of, am I impressing them? Are they hearing what I'm trying to say? Am I coming off clearly? If you come in with the idea of, I just want to talk to them and understand more about their company, let them understand a little bit more about me, that's going to help a lot with the nerves.
Great ideas around a positive mindset and really preparing yourself for that experience that could be anxious, but approaching it with that different viewpoint allows us to take a deep breath and really just get to know someone. So thanks so much for that, Jamie. Jeff, I see you waving at me there.
Yeah,
I got a question. Let's go.
I can't find the raise my hand button, so I'll just do it physically. I want to key on a couple of comments that were made earlier on the dressing. I find, and it's the same thing in business development, you just want to dress a little better than what the company dresses. If they dress in jeans, just wear a nice pressed shirt and be presentable. You don't have to wear a 3-piece suit. However, it's a formal organization, then it's part of the research that you have to do for the company. It depends on the setting, whether it's at the company or whether it's elsewhere, or whether it's even virtual. So on that, I also want to address a question that Lillian had earlier about changing job skills for each application. I think it's worthwhile, but that's a lot of work. I would, what frustrates me is when I get resumes that are completely a misfit for the advertisement, for the flyer, or for something I put on Indeed. There's just not a match. And I just don't think that's efficient. So be fair and apply for jobs that you have a skill set for. And that's not to say that you can't mold your skills to fit a job, but if they're asking for a lab chemist and you majored in something else, it's going to be a harder fit. But I think in most jobs these days, there's a universe of skills that are probably asked for a central specific skill, and then a whole bunch of supporting skills and soft skills. And so you have to present the whole thing. So getting back to the question of how you present your resume, you might make a few variations on a resume and use those, but I don't think you have to tailor each one for each job, especially if you're sending out a lot of resumes. And then as far as the interview goes, yeah, do be calm. I tell them interviewees, let's just take it easy and be calm here. But having said that, I will ask impromptu questions, mainly because I want to see how interviewees can think on their feet. If I put them in front of a client, they're hired, and I put them in front of a client, they're going to ask hard questions. And I want them to be able to think on their feet. And the interview process is part of that. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for things that are outside the box.
To Teresa next.
So I have a couple of things I'm going to go down. In the chat, I posted talking about how to dress. And I agree with Jeff 100%. But I also feel that it's a mindset, right? So even if you're on a phone interview, you should be dressed for a job, right? You're not just wearing your slippers and your leggings and stuff. You're actually working, right? So know that you need to get that feeling of being in a job. My old company, before I came to Prolacta, we did hire assessment videos. So we asked candidates to record themselves answering standard questions. And I can't tell you the number of times that I had people recording themselves in closets, in shorts, with, in the background, you could see beer cans on the shelf, and that was their life, and that was fine. But know your surroundings, know your audience, and what you're striving for. And so it's really important that you just have a whole view of where you're going with that. I think too, when you're preparing, make sure you're talking about, once again, like your resume, your accomplishments. If you live in the HR world, there's something called a behavioral based interview. And so, you're talking in a behavioral based way when someone says, tell me about a time that you, da-da-da. And it's anything. Tell me about a time that you solved a problem. To Jeffrey's point, Jeffrey's like, I'm going to ask him a question. So you should be able to share something that you have done that's similar to the question that they're asking. So practice those type of questions. Be prepared to talk about, I think Jeffrey mentioned soft skills. Back to Jamie's comment earlier, know what your competencies are. Not only your technical skills, all the things that you can do in the lab, but how do you interact with other people? What are your strengths when it comes to working on a team? Do you prefer to collaborate? Do you prefer to work alone? Be able to talk to those skill sets because people will ask you those things in interview. They're just not going to ask you about what you've accomplished in class, or they'll talk to you about who you are as a person, because not only are we looking for a job fit, the technical fit, we're also looking to see how you're going to participate in the culture of a company and on the team that you're being asked to interview for. So there's a lot to think about there. And it sounds like Eddie has some great resources to help on all those levels, get you prepared for that.
So just to recap, we've shared a lot of interesting things for you all. We've talked about creating an attractive resume. We've also talked about how to find opportunities in science through networking, through LinkedIn, through conversations, and also some of your searches on job career platforms such as Indeed. And lastly, we've talked about interviewing strategies, how to be prepared, how to lower our anxiety, how to be open to having a conversation, and being able to think on our feet and be able to recall very quickly some of our core competencies to be able to express our interest in this job, and most importantly, coming dressed to impress, to show the person who's interviewing that we are definitely excited to be a part of that. And so we are coming up on the about 12:50. So I know that some of you might have classes that are beginning at 1 o'clock. If I could ask maybe that the panelists, if you're willing to, if you could maybe be able to put your email into the chat, so that this is a great opportunity for all the students out there. We talked about networking. We talked about being able to meet someone and make an instant contact. So if you're on your phone, make sure you do a screen capture. We'll keep it open for a while so you can be able to see these things. And then lastly, Ed, as we're closing out, can you please talk to the students about how they're able to submit their resume for review, please? So Ed, you'll be able to close this out.
Thank you. You read my mind. That's what I raised my hand for. So I'll put my my contact into the chat. So just if you send me a copy of your resume, a Word document would be best. And then I will put that into our Google Drive, where it'll be distributed to one of our Dean Circle members to review it. And this is a really good opportunity because I love it when we get people who actually do the hiring to look at these. Not only do the students learn a lot, but I also learn a lot as well. So thank you, Jeffrey and Renee and Nidra. I mean, you guys are amazing. It's just always a privilege to be around other alumni. And I just got to say, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you all.
So I'm going to put my email in the chat. It's my job to serve all of you and make sure that you have the things that you need. There were some questions in the chat about us recording this. if you want to reach out to me, I'm here in the dean's office, and I can work along with Dan Griggs, who's also part of our dean's office, to make sure that you know where to be able to go and view this recording that we'll post to YouTube underneath probably our College of Science account. And then if you have any questions or you want to further connect with our alumni, our industry partners, and our Dean Circle, please feel free to reach out to me so we can keep these connections as we go into the spring. So again, on behalf of Dean Baskey, we want to say thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.